Good morning, children. This session we are going to see some important topics. Okay. So, what are the topics? The first one is about matter. What do you mean by matter? You know very well, matter is around us everywhere, isn't it? So, matter is nothing but anything which occupies space and has weight. This is called matter, right, children? It's an important definition. Define matter means what is the answer? Anything which occupies space and has weight are called matter. Come to the second one, atom. Atom is nothing but a smallest particle of an element which takes part in a chemical reaction. In early days, scientists thought that atom isn't, that is during Dalton's period, John Dalton's period, he thought that atom is an indivisible particle, that is we cannot divide the atom. But later that some scientists, for example Niels Bohr, Rutherford, J.J. Thomson, they proposed that that concept was wrong. That is, atom is not an indivisible particle. Atom is a divisible particle. We can divide the atom. Like that they proposed. So after the discovery of protons, electrons and neutrons. You know very well, the three subatomic particles of atom are protons, electrons and neutrons. They have each and every subatomic particles has some charge, isn't it? Protons are positively charged particle, electrons are negatively charged particle, whereas neutrons are no charge, it is neutral, right? So after the discovery of the subatomic particles, J.J. Thomson and the scientists, many scientists like Rutherford and Niels Bohr, they proposed atom is not an indivisible particle, it is a divisible particle. That's what they proposed the modern atomic theory based on that. That modern atomic theory only we are reading nowadays. Okay, we are following that modern atomic theory only. So what do you mean by atom? Atom is the smallest particle which takes particle of an element which takes part in a chemical reaction. Understood, children? Right. So the next one is about molecule. Okay, these are some of the fundamental terms. You should know about these terms. Then only you will, when you go to higher classes, you will get lot of information about this. So fundamental things you should learn, right? Yes. So what is meant by molecule or define molecule? Molecule is nothing but group of atoms bonded together are called molecule. In one word we can say that is group of atoms bonded together are called molecule. What example we can give for molecule? Water, right? Water is nothing but a molecule because it contains hydrogen atoms as well as oxygen atom. You know very well water is composed of hydrogen as well as and oxygen. Hydrogen and oxygen both combine to form the water, isn't it? So molecule means group of atoms bonded together to form a molecule. Understood, children? Right. So the next one is element. Element is made of only one kind of atom. Okay. If you look at the periodic table, you can find nearly 118 elements are present in the periodic table. Majority of the elements are naturally occurring elements, whereas few elements are synthesized in the laboratory, that is produced in the laboratory. If you have a look at the periodic table, you can find the I told you 118 elements. Each and every element has some special characteristic properties, right, children? Okay. So next one is about compound, right? Compound. Compound means it is composed of two or more atoms. Okay. For example, if you take water, it is nothing but a compound. Why? Because water is composed of hydrogen element as well as oxygen element, right? And sodium chloride also we can say. Carbon dioxide is a compound because it is composed of carbon element as well as oxygen element. At the same time, sodium chloride means sodium as well as combination of chlorine. Both combines to form the sodium chloride compound. Okay. So compound is composed of two or more separate elements. Understood, children? Right. Next one is about ions. Ions means nothing but atom, they have some charge. Okay. Whether it may have positive charge or negative charge are called ions. Okay, ions can be classified into positive, that is cation, as well as anions. That you will learn detail in your next coming classes, right? So next one is about symbols of element. Understood? Symbols of elements. What do you mean by symbol? Symbol stands for some meaning. Okay. In chemistry, each and every element is represented by a symbol only, right children? In chemistry, each and every element is represented by a symbol. The name of an element is represented in a shortened form called the symbol. Okay. In the periodic table, all the elements are represented by using symbol only. Okay. You can find the name also, but it highlighted that. Okay. Each and every box highlighted the symbol only, right? So symbol means it stands for some meaning, right? In chemistry, each and every element is represented by a symbol. Symbol is nothing but the shorthand representation of a element, right? Okay. So next one, if you look at the symbols, here we are using for each and every element we are using the symbol. Okay. Elements having first letter as symbol. Mostly non-metals, they have the first letter as symbol. For example, look at this table, boron. The name of the element is boron. Its symbol is B. First letter. Okay, first initial letter is B. So, what is the symbol of boron? B. Okay, you may get one more questions regarding this. Name of the element will be given to you. You have to find out the symbol for that. Sometimes you will be getting the symbol directly. You have to, based on the symbol, you have to write the name of the element. Okay, so both the things are very important. Next one is carbon element. What is the symbol of the carbon element? C. Next one, fluorine element. The symbol of fluorine element is F. Okay, if you look at these elements, you can find the first initial letter as symbol. Okay, these are all the non-metals. This is applicable for non-metals. Next one for hydrogen, its symbol is H. Next one for iodine, the symbol is I. Okay, here you have to use the uppercase. That is, you should write the symbol in the capital letter. Next one for nitrogen, its symbol is N, capital N. Next one is oxygen, the symbol is O. For phosphorus, the symbol is P. For sulfur, the symbol is S. For uranium element, the symbol is U. And for yttrium element, the symbol is Y. Okay. Based on this, some elements, they will get two letters as name. Okay, for example, if you take magnesium element, okay, the symbol of magnesium is Mg, right? See the first letter, okay, its initial letter is M, whereas G is the third letter. Okay, first initial letter we can take it as the first one. For some elements we have to take the second letter as symbol. For some element we have to take the third letter as symbol. If we take the manganese element, that is Mn. Okay. See, the first initial letter is same for magnesium as well as for manganese. But if you look at the second letter for magnesium, we use the third letter as symbol. For manganese also we use the second letter as symbol. Manganese, Man, that is third letter as symbol. Okay. For some element we use the second letter as symbol, right? So in the same manner we have to write the name of the symbol and also name of the element as symbol, and also we should mention the first letter as capital letter, that is in uppercase, and the second letter we should write it in the lower case. For only one letter means no problem, we should use the uppercase, right? Next one, for some elements or Latin name of elements are used. Okay, Greek or Latin names are used for some elements, right? For example, see the sodium element. Okay, the name of the element is sodium and its Latin name is natrium. Okay, what is the Latin name of sodium? Natrium, and its symbol is Na. Okay, see the first two letter. First letter it is in the uppercase and second letter it is in the lower case. Next one for iron. Okay, the name of the element is iron. Its Latin name is ferrum. Ferrum, ferrum, and its symbol is Fe. First letter F in capital letter and second letter E is small letter. Next one for copper. The Latin name is cuprum. Its symbol is Cu. For gold, Rm, and its symbol is Au. Next one for silver, argentum. The symbol is Ag. Next one for tin, stannum. Its symbol is Sn, right? And for lead, Latin name is plumber and its symbol is Pb. Okay. For this you have to remember the Greek or Latin name of the particular element also. Not only you have to write the symbol, even sometimes you will be getting write the Latin name of write the Greek name of sodium, iron, like that. If you are getting mixed, you have to write down the Latin name or Greek name. So you should remember this also. Okay. For some elements, we use the country name or color name, planet name, okay, god name, mythological character, like that. For example, if you look at this table, the name of the element is uranium, right? And its symbol is capital U. Uranium is nothing but a planet name. It's from Uranus, isn't it? So it derived from the planet name. Next one, europium. Okay, europium. Symbol is EU, right? And it derived from the country name, that is Europe, right? Next one, mercury. Name of the element is mercury. Its symbol is Hg. Okay, it derived from god Mercury. Okay. Next one, plutonium. Name of the element is plutonium and its symbol is Pu. It derived from the planet name Pluto, right? And the last one is americium. It's the name of the element is americium. Its symbol is Am and it derived from the country America. Right? We will be getting the questions like this. Right? The name of the element uranium derived from dash. Means what you have to write? You have to write planet. So in that case you should get prepared for this also. Okay, here you are learning the Latin name or Greek name. No, the name in the same manner you have to learn the derived from whether country or planet or god, like that color you have to write. For iodine, if you take, it is violet in color. Like that you will be getting the questions. Understood, children? Right. So this is a symbol of elements. Next we can move to metals and non-metals. Okay. What is meant by metal and what is meant by non-metal? Generally, elements can be classified into metals as well as non-metals. Okay, elements can be classified into metals, non-metals and metalloids. Okay, so metals and non-metals, they classify based on their properties compared with the properties of metals and non-metals. Okay, in this way only we are segregating. These things will come under metals, these elements will come under non-metals. In this manner we are segregating, right? First we can move to the metals. You know very well iron, copper, gold, silver, okay, aluminium, iron, nickel. These are some of the metals that we use in our daily life. Understood, children? Okay. If you take the metal, each and every metal, it should have some special characteristic properties. Some will get special characteristic physical properties. Some elements will get, some metals will get chemical properties, special chemical properties. Now let me discuss about the physical properties of metals. Okay. So metals are generally solids under normal conditions conditions of temperature and pressure, right? And next one, metals are, most of the metals are hard in nature, okay? And many metals have shiny appearance, that is lustrous property. They have lustrous property, okay? Metals are shiny in nature, right? And generally metals have high density and also they have high melting point and high boiling point, okay? Metals can be hammered into very thin sheets, okay? This property of the metal is called malleability. Aluminium foil you might have seen, okay? Aluminium foil is transformed by this process to transform into a metal, okay? Aluminium foil, by using this property, aluminium foil has been transformed into thin sheet, right? So next one, metals can be beaten into thin sheet. I told you that will come under the category of malleability. If you take the ductility, means metals can be drawn into very thin wires, okay? This tendency of metal is called the ductility property. For example, we can say copper wires, right children? Next, metals generally they conduct heat and electricity, right? Metals they conduct heat as well as electricity. On heat, metals produce a sound, okay? So this property is generally used for making temple bells. Understood children? These are some of the physical properties of metals, right? Next we can move to the uses of metals. If you take copper, you know very well, copper wires are used in electrical wires, isn't it? And aluminium, it is used in cable wires for transmission purpose and all, right? And for gold and silver, if you take, it is mainly used for making jewelry. Not only jewelry, even for decorative purposes also, gold and silver is used. And if you take lead, it is used in X-ray machines. And iron is used, okay, for construction purpose, for construction of bridges, engine parts, etc. So these are some of the uses of metals. Next we can move to the non-metals, okay. Carbon, sulfur, oxygen, nitrogen, these will come under the category of non-metals, right? Non-metals exist in all the three states of matter. What are the three states of matter? One is solid, another one is liquid, and the third one is gas. Okay, these three are the physical states of matter. So non-metals occur not only in solid state, even it occurs in the liquid state as well as in the gaseous state. For example, if you take sulfur and phosphorus, okay, sulfur and phosphorus, it is occur in the solid state, whereas if you take bromine, it occurs in a liquid, and you know very well, hydrogen, oxygen occurs in the gaseous state, right? So next one, generally non-metals are not hard in nature, it is soft in nature. But if you take diamond is a form of carbon, okay, but diamond is a very hard in nature. It is the hardest naturally occurring substance, right? Generally non-metals are soft in nature, but diamond will come under the category of non-metal because it is derived from, it is obtained from carbon is a very hardest metal, right? Right. So next one, if you take the general melting point as well as boiling point is somewhat low when compared to metals. This non-metals are low melting point and boiling point, and non-metals have low density, okay. And generally non-metals are non-malleable in nature as well as non-ductile in nature. This we discussed in metals, okay. Malleability as well as ductility. But here non-metals are non-malleable in nature as well as non-ductile in nature, right? And non-metals generally they do not conduct heat and electricity, but the exception case is graphite. Graphite will come under the category of non-metal, but graphite conducts electricity. on heat, non-metals do not produce sound, right? So these are some of the general properties, general physical properties of non-metals, right? So next we can move to the uses of non-metals. Okay, uses of non-metal means carbon. Carbon is generally it is used, that is it's obtained from diamond. We are getting from carbon only, isn't it? And graphite is used for making pencil leads. And phosphorus is used in matchbox. Okay, sulfur is used for vulcanization of rubber, as well as it is used as a gunpowder, right? Nitrogen is used for making preparation of ammonia, that is used for fertilizers, right? And also if you take nitrogen I told, isn't it? So hydrogen, if you take, hydrogen is generally used as a rocket fuel. Okay, hydrogen is used as a rocket fuel. So these are some of the uses of non-metals. Okay, nitrogen is used for the preparation of ammonia, and hydrogen is used as a rocket fuel. Phosphorus is used in the matchbox, and diamond is used for decorative purpose, that is also it is used in jewelry, cutting, welding purposes also. Graphite is used in pencil leads. Okay, these are some of the uses of non-metals, right? So next we can move to metalloids. What is meant by metalloids? Metalloids means elements, it exhibits both the metallic character as well as non-metallic character. These are called the metalloids. Okay, metalloids means it contains, it exhibits the metallic property as well as non-metallic property are called the metalloids. Silicon, germanium, boron and polonium, these are some of the examples of metalloids, because these elements exhibit both the characters, that is metallic character as well as non-metallic character. Understood, children? Right. So next one we can move to the compound and its classification. Okay, compound already I told you, compound is composed of two or more separate elements, right? So we can classify this compound into two types. One is the organic compound, another one is the inorganic compound. Okay, if you take the organic compound, here these compounds are derived from living sources. Okay, that is we are getting from plants as well as animals are called organic compounds. For example, we can say proteins, carbohydrates. These are organic compounds, that is we are getting from plants and animals, right? So organic compound means what? Organic compounds means compounds obtained from living sources like plants and animals. Understood? Right. So next we can move to inorganic compound. Inorganic compound means compounds which obtained from non-living sources such as minerals, rocks, etc. are called inorganic compound. For example, if you take this chalk piece is nothing but we are getting from non-mineral, that is minerals. Okay, this chalk piece is getting from, we are getting this chalk piece from minerals. So it is a non-living source only. Okay, so compounds which are obtained from non-living things are called what? Inorganic compound. Whereas organic compound means living sources. That differences you have to understand. Organic compound means we are getting from living sources. Inorganic compound means we are getting from non-living sources like minerals as well as from rocks. Okay, these are non-living sources, isn't it? So that's the difference between organic compounds and inorganic compounds. Understood, children? Next we can move to the uses of compound. In what way we are using this compound in our daily life? If you take water, already I told you water is nothing but a compound because it is composed of two or more elements, that is hydrogen and oxygen elements combined to form compound, isn't it? So water is a compound. So what is generally used for cleaning purpose, and also water is used as a solvent. Okay. Next one, if you take table salt, that is a chemical name is sodium chloride. It is used as a preservative in our foods. Okay. Next, baking soda. Baking soda, it is used for the preparation of cakes like that. Understood, children? So these are some of the uses of compounds. Okay, in our daily life we are using many compounds, right? Right. Next, we can move to the physical and chemical changes. We have come across many changes in our day-to-day life. We can classify these changes into physical change and chemical change. Okay. What is the difference between physical change and chemical change? First, let me discuss about physical change. Physical change is a reversible change, okay, and also it is a temporary change. Here, in this physical change, no new substance is formed. This is called the physical change. For example, we can say melting of ice, okay. Then what about chemical change? Chemical change is a permanent change and also it is an irreversible change. During chemical reactions, a new substance is formed in the chemical chain. For example, burning of paper, bursting of crackers. Okay. So, this is the difference between the physical change and chemical change. Right. Next one, factors determining chemical changes. Okay. Some factors determines the chemical changes. What are the factors? Contact in physical states, solution of reactants, electricity, heat, light, catalyst. These are some of the factors determining the chemical changes. One by one we can see now. First one is contact in physical states. Some chemical reactions takes place only when the reactants comes into contact with the physical state. Okay, only when the solutions comes into contact with their physical states, whether it may be solid state or liquid state or gaseous state, right? Next one, solution of reactants. Okay, it means some chemical reactions proceed only in the solution form but not in the solid form. This is the concept behind the solution of reactants. That is, some chemical reactions proceed only in the solution form but not in the solid form. Next one, electricity. Okay, some chemical reactions proceed by the passage of electricity. Such reactions are called electrochemical reactions and this process is known as electrolysis process. Understood, children? So, 2 more question or otherwise you will be getting 1 more question in this. Next one, heat. Right? Some chemical reactions can achieve by the supply of heat only. So, this chemical reactions is called the thermochemical reactions. Otherwise, we can say this process is known as thermolysis process. Understood? Here, I have to explain about the exothermic reaction and endothermic reaction. What is the difference between exothermic reaction and endothermic reaction? Exothermic reaction means it involves the liberation of heat. Okay, liberation of heat is nothing but the exothermic reaction, whereas endothermic reaction involves the absorption of heat. Okay, that's the difference between exothermic reaction and endothermic reaction. Exothermic reaction means chemical reactions involving the liberation of heat. Heat is given out. Okay, that is exothermic, whereas endothermic means heat is absorbed. Understood? Right. So next one, light. Some chemical reactions induced by the presence of light. Okay, induced by light. This process is known as this reaction is known as photochemical reaction, whereas this process is known as photolysis. Understood? Like that is, some chemical reactions proceed with the passage of light. Okay, that is, some chemical reactions are induced by light. For example, we can say photosynthesis. Understood? Like next one, catalyst. Some chemical reactions proceed by the catalyst. Okay, catalyst means it is nothing but during chemical reaction some chemical substances are added to speed up the chemical reaction. For that purpose we are adding the catalyst. Okay, So during chemical reactions, catalyst, some substances influences the chemical reaction. That substance is nothing but we are adding some substance. That substance is known as catalyst. Understood, children? So these are some of the factors determining the chemical changes. Understood? Right. Next we can move to biological effects. Okay, there are some biological effects also takes place. One is a spoilage of food. Okay, it will get bad odor. Next, apples and fruits turn brown. This is due to a pigment called melanin, right? So these two will come under the biological effects. Next one, environmental effects. Environmental effects means you know very well, it will come under pollution. Pollution is nothing but undesirable changes that takes place in the environment. That is called the pollution. There are different types of pollution like water pollution, air pollution, land pollution, noise pollution, okay, nuclear pollution, like that, right? Come to the last one, rusting. Rusting means it is nothing but, rust is nothing but iron oxide. Okay, so moisture, air as well as water, when it comes in contact with the iron, it will get rusted. That is iron oxide. Okay, so these two will come under environmental effects, whereas spoilage of food and apples and fruits turn brown will come under biological effects. Understood, children? So these are the important topics you should learn. Okay, in the first two lessons, that is matter around us as well as changes around us. You will be getting many 1 mark questions as well as 2 mark questions in this. Okay, these concepts are fundamental concept. If you learn this concept in this year, then it will be very easy for you to learn the remaining things in the next year, right, children? So go through all the things and you have to know the element as well as a symbol, how to write the symbol. Okay, these things are also very important. Apart that, you have to learn about the physical change and chemical change. What are the physical changes we are coming across in our daily life? What are the chemical changes that we are coming across? Everything you have to know. Okay, so all these things are very important. Go through all the things and the remaining important topics we will continue in the next session. Thank you, children.